Hey everybody, Alex from AdaptableStrength.com here. Today we're going to go ahead and do a comprehensive overview on effective quad training for hypertrophy. So whenever you analyze your training, you want to take a look at the different variables that you can control. We're going to take a look at training frequency, exercise selection, rep ranges, effort, intensity techniques that can be used, and then we're going to go ahead and blend it all together into a cohesive program for the week. So the first thing we're going to take a look at with quad training is the volume. There are two ways to go ahead and analyze your volume. The first is going to be the total load done for that specific workout, and then you're going to add the workouts together to what the total comes out to at the very end of the whole week. Generally, you're going to be splitting your training in terms of weeks. You're going to have 3, 4, 5 day a week splits. Some people do 6. If you're doing 2 days, and maybe even more. But a great way to kind of standardize everything is to analyze everything on a weekly volume basis, not just the individual workouts volume basis. So when you think about your goal of hypertrophy, you want to make sure that you are maximizing that volume in a way that you can recover from. So you can imagine a situation where you've done a huge leg workout, your quads are crazy sore, but if you're programmed to do another quad workout 2 days later and you're still barely walking, it is definitely not the time to go ahead and get that next workout in. You definitely need to focus more on recovery. Maybe take that giant workout and split it into 2 workouts. Then you can go ahead and have one that's pretty taxing, but you'll be able to be recovered within 2 or 3 days time, in which case you can then do the rest of the workout to make sure that all the volume that you hit is actually going to be beneficial for you. So when you're taking a look at your exercises that you can choose from for your workouts, I've got 3 different categories. I like to split them in order to make sure that you are taking a wise approach into what exercises to choose for that day. So one thing that you'll notice is that there's this word axial that's in every one of these categories. Axial is going to be a really important factor in terms of just how much it costs your body to do the exercises. You can think of it essentially in terms of whether your back is supported or not. Axial load basically just means a bunch of load that's essentially compressing the spine and putting load throughout your entire body. It turns the exercises into a really comprehensive full body movement when you're actually unsupported. And a great example of that is going to be your standard barbell squat, where you're freestanding, you're in the open, and you're just by yourself. There's nothing to guide the range of motion. There is nothing that's going to give your back a full support throughout the entirety of it, and it's going to cost you a lot to be able to do. These are the ones that really push you to your limits. So that's a quick synopsis of the axially unsupported and systemically fatiguing movements. Those back squats, they cost a lot. But you can go ahead and take a look at another category of the axially supported and systemically fatiguing ones. These are going to be big compound quad movements. That is going to give you back support while you do it. You can take a look at leg presses, hack squats, and belt squats as 3 easy ones. The belt squat is a deceptive one because your back isn't technically supported, but because of the belt distributing the weight along the hips, it's not taxing your back like it would if you were doing this with a standard barbell. Then you have the third category of the axially supported and locally fatiguing ones. This is going to be great for ones that you can really push because you're in a very safe position. You're going to have your leg extensions. Sissy squats, I would qualify as these. Even though they're kind of a squat movement, there's not much capability to load them, and you're really managing to get yourself locked into a position that's going to be mostly your quads doing the work. When you are trying to figure out what order of exercises to do for your workout, you can take a look at 2 different examples that we have here. We have workout number 1, where you're doing your high bar squats followed by leg press and then Bulgarian split squats. You can see we have a good mix of the supported or unsupported movements, and they're all going to be ones that are going to destroy your quads preferentially. Notice it's high bar squats, not low bar squats, because the low bar squats are going to be more for the powerlifting strength side, whole body involvement. But a high bar squat will keep your back a little more upright, keep your knees going a little bit farther forward, and allow you to focus mostly with your quads being the limiting factor, though there is definitely a full body component to it. Compare that to workout number 2, where we start off with extra range of motion leg extensions, then we follow that with hack squats, then after that your belt squat. So these are both very solid choices for a workout. I recommend them both, but let's take a look at the similarities and differences of them. For the similarities, we can see they both are equipped with a squat pattern that has some axial demand on it. You have compound movements without axial demand, and then you have an isolation movement. The difference is the order. So you look at workout 1, you're starting off with a movement that is axially unsupported and very systemically demanding, but it's going to go ahead and give you great stimulus. However, that fatigue is going to be pretty high from the start. So you can then follow it up with leg presses, where you're going to be much more secure and really going to be able to hammer in the quads with some very heavy compound but pretty quad specific work. You're going to follow that off with Bulgarian split squats, which is a great isolation exercise, gives you the ability to work one leg separately from the other, maybe help out on some imbalances, but they're really going to finish those quads off with a very, very heavy burn. Let's take a look at workout number 2. You can see that it starts off with that isolation movement. So right off the bat, you're going to really start frying off your quads before working on anything else. So then when you go into hack squats, you're going to be able to reduce the load that would otherwise be required. It's going to be able to decrease the systemic fatigue that'll be put onto you, and it'll also allow you to reduce the axial fatigue that would happen a little bit. Granted, you are in a hack squat, so you're pretty locked in, but there's still going to be some axial fatigue that will happen from that as well. Now, with the finisher being the belt squat, you can see we've completely reversed that order, and because you've already done the full-on isolation work along with the hack squats, your belt squat numbers very low. However, it gives you a really solid opportunity to really push. It's a very difficult way to do them because you're going to be tired but less load. So you can see there are trade-offs to both of these. So now that you've taken a look at the exercises for those workouts, let's talk about what their better rep ranges are going to be for the different types of exercises as well. If you're taking a look at your back squats, your axially unsupported and systemically fatiguing movements, it's not going to be a great idea to really push maximal reps. Obviously, there are some exceptions. It will work. It will get you to grow pretty crazy quads if you can do it. Not many people can. Tom Platz is one of the quintessential examples of this. Now, what I would more recommend for us mere mortals who are not Tom Platz is to kind of stick in that 5 to 10, maybe up to 12 rep range, because you really don't want to get so fatigued that your form starts breaking down and you start kind of putting yourself into some risky positions. Let's try and keep these safe. They're great to go ahead and push. They will do a wonderful job to get you bigger and stronger, but remember, if you get hurt, you're not going to be able to do much at all. So train smart, train hard, but make sure you keep in mind maybe trying to push out a set of 15 to 20 off of a truly heavy squat may not be the best way to go. However, if you compare that to your axially supported and systemically fatiguing ones, because you have that first element of being axially supported, you can push these a lot harder. Leg presses are one of my favorites just to go absolutely crazy with, where I'm going to turn purple, not be able to function for a few minutes afterwards. They're a great way to do it because you're locked into a safe position. So if you keep your control, you can go ahead and get nice and deep with the range of motion for them. You can push these a lot, and you can even go up as high as, I would recommend, 20-ish reps. If you want to push farther than that, you can, but it can take a toll. If you're really pushing yourself and hitting a true RPE 10, getting a 20 reps is a very large ask. However, if you're doing a leg extension and you're doing something in the axially supported and locally fatiguing category, go crazy. You want to do a set of 50 on leg extensions? That's fine. I personally won't do that. I'll probably stick to maybe 25 to be the biggest rep range, maybe 30. There is some good research showing that there's for all intents and purposes, equal hypertrophy benefits for training in the 5 to 30 rep range. But try to balance that out with the systemic fatigue along with it. You don't want to just gas out after one really big set of 30 and not be able to complete the other 6-7 the other 6-7 sets that you would then do in that workout. If you have a training partner who has a very different range of motion than yours, and you guys are trying to match the intensity and that you guys are doing, you may be able to experiment where the person who has the greater range of motion is doing 10 reps and then the person with the shorter range of motion is doing 15. It may have some benefit. Let's say if it's like a tricep push down and they have an injury where they're not able to actually fully extend completely. So they're kind of locked into just doing it here, which is great. They're getting a good stretch, cool. But if you're going here and all the way down, in some ways you want to have a balancing effect for your range of motion being twice theirs. So maybe in that situation, if you're supposed to do 10 to 15, they may want to do 20 to 25. So keep that in mind when you're also working with somebody and you guys are trying to figure out the rep ranges to do. Alright, so now here is one of the most important factors for training, and that's making sure that you are training hard. You can see that I like to take a very analytical approach to what I'm doing, but that doesn't stop me from training very intensely. So a way to do this is to take a look at what your RPE or RIR is. Both of them are very good methods of how to gauge your exertion. I prefer RPE because it adds a little bit more nuance with the fact that you do halves, but RIR is perfectly fine as well. Figure out which one that you like to use and try to keep track of it. So you're trying to progress in your workouts, and now you need to figure out how to increase your intensity in an intelligent manner. There are 6 factors here that we have looked at to go ahead and see how to program, but the first 2 are the ones that you can really do to be able to, in the moment, change the intensity. So now if you take a look at the other ways that you can increase intensity that are listed here, they're more programmable ways to do it. They're mechanical aspects to it. So let's say you're in an 8-week program. We're in a situation where you are not quite able to add extra sets because that volume increase is just not able to be recovered from. So what you can do is then do an RPE progression that you're planned out, so that if there's a day where you're really not feeling great at all, you're not forcing yourself to do more than your body's actually capable of. It's especially true if you're going to be locked into doing this weight for this amount of sets with these reps. If you're locked something like that, you're falling into the trap of essentially having your form break down to the possible point of being potentially injurious to you. So take a look at this. We can see that overall it is pretty much just going up from RPE 6 to RPE 10 at the end. But you'll take a look at the fact that there's never a point, even at the very end, week 7 and 8, it's RPE 9 to 10. It's not RPE 10 only. If you were to go true RPE 10 only on every single one of your working sets, it would be an astronomical level of fatigue that may not be beneficial. So keep that in mind. If we're going to do something along this lines, there's a reason why there's ranges. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room. Say 3 sets that you're doing on a hack squat. You can have your first one, RPE 9. Really hard, but you know what? You can kind of recover. And then your second set, alright, we're going to push it again. I don't want to fail, but I want to get as close to it as possible. And you get to the last rep, and it's like, maybe I could have done another one, but I'm really taxed. This is done. Your last one, it's alright, time to send it. And this is when you go all out, and you may even end up failing that last rep. But if you hit training failure truly, then you may not be getting back up out of the bottom of the hack squat. So either have spotters, be in a comfortable position where when you're in the hole you can still get out of the machine safely. If you're going to fail, do it responsibly. It sounds like the weirdest drinking ad ever. But anyway, don't fail in a dangerous manner. Fail responsibly. Let's take a look at the intensity technique options. They have a few very specific ways that they can benefit you. One is just being time efficient. You don't have a ton of time and you're trying to really focus in on getting the work that you need done, but you have half what you would normally otherwise spend in the gym. Great. Throw in a couple drop sets and you'll get a good amount of ending set fatigue in a smaller amount of time with some great stimulus. So really be aware you're doing too many within the same workout, because you are going to be adding a lot of fatigue when you do these. So have a kind of a baseline. Let's say you're at that week 7 to 8 period of that 8-week progression that we were just doing. Max 3, maybe 5 intensity techniques per workout, where it's going to really depend on how you distribute them. Doing 5 drop sets on leg presses, yeah, it's not a good idea. But doing 1 drop set on leg press, then 1 drop set on hack squat, and then 1 drop set on leg extension, that's more doable. Or if you want to do it where it's a my-rep match on the leg extensions at the end, go for it. You want to try and just do 2 rounds of myo reps at the end of your leg press for the last set? Why not? It's a good idea. Just make sure that it's not going to be too much that you cannot recover the next one. So my 2 favorites here are going to be the lengthened partials as well as myo rep match sets. Myo rep match sets are probably my favorite tool to use for, say, dumbbell laterals. All that means is that you're going to do 1 set to failure, no breaks or pauses or anything in it. You just get to the point where you fail, and then that set is done. Then every subsequent set after for that exercise, you just have to match those reps. So if I'm doing dumbbell laterals and I get 14 reps on the first one and then I fail, all right, the target is now 14 for each subsequent set. The next set may end up looking like, all right, well, I get 10 and I'm about to fail, so I stop. I rest for a few seconds and everything, and then I may be able to get another 2 to 4 or whatever, but I'm going to get to the point where I finish that last 14th rep. Lengthened partials are another favorite. They are simply going to be when you reach the end of a set, potentially, say RPE 9, and you just want to bust out some half reps in this lengthened portion, go for it. It's a great way to take advantage of the stretch medium hypertrophy that's been coming out the last few years. Definitely recommend. You could do hack squats like this, leg presses like this. Leg extensions are a great way to do this. The trick though to do it on like leg extensions is going to be to make sure that you can maximize your range of motion, because a lot of leg extensions will lock you into a subpar range of motion. If you put something in between your shins and the pad and you can get a bigger stretch coming backwards, then go for it. It's a great tool that I highly recommend. So those are all the individual pieces for effective quad training. But let's go ahead and turn that into a program. Now, before, when I showed you those 2 workouts and I said that I definitely recommend them, I really do. It's very similar to how I've been organizing my training with trying to make sure that I can hit good motions while I'm lifting in a varied manner. So you'll see it's keeping those key components of having the 2 big compound movements and then an isolation exercise. This is going to be a good way to kind of think about progressing it. This is an example for a 6-week program, but we're going to have workout 1 on Monday, workout 2 on Thursday, and it gives you time to recover. The advantage to having the more systemically demanding workout on Monday is that if you just had a rest day on Sunday, or maybe a rest day Saturday and Sunday, you're fresher, you have more energy, you're going to be more capable at doing the more demanding exercises without breaking down. But as you progress through the week, well, your Thursday workout is going to be a little more forgiving on the systemic side, but still give you a hefty amount of local fatigue. It's going to be easier when you might be a little more run down as the week has gone through. But you can see listed the different progressions for both RPE as well as RIR. And you'll notice that there is little asterisks there for times where it might be a good idea to plan to do some intensity technique work. You'll notice there is nothing for those first 3 weeks for intensity techniques because we're ramping up. We start you off solid, and at the end you're really, really pushing. All of this is well within the hypertrophy ranges. The only thing that I would really want to stress is to not start too much too soon. Because remember, with the need to ramp up, you have to have a base to ramp up from. If we were to say start this with RPE 9 at week 1, by week 3 you're going to be at RPE 10. And then what are you going to do for the next 3 to 5 weeks depending on the length of your program? You do not want to gas out too soon. You don't want to get yourself in a situation where you're just spinning your wheels because you can't recover from everything that you're basically demanding of your body. Think about that progression. You want to be able to build up and then go maximally at the end to then come back, taper out a little bit, rest, recover, do a deload, a little bit of a maintenance phase, whatever is needed, so you can then get back in nice, fresh, and really be able to push the next mesocycle essentially that you are doing. All right, so best of luck with your quad training. These are some very good fundamentals to take a hold of. Any questions or anything, feel free to reach out. Again, I'm Alex, adaptablestrength.com. Thank you for watching.